أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين فإنه خير الناصر ومعين. Today is 20th December 2009. We are having second session. I have named this particular topic that I'm talking, which I've started from yesterday, Liqa'ullah, meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, the beginning of this, I want to show you how I came to this topic that I'm telling you. It says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that's the introduction in the book by Mullah Mohsen Faiz Kashani. I just read two lines of it. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah al-awwalu fi akhariyatih. Thanks, all the praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He is first in His lastness. Al-akharu fi awwaliyatih. And He is last in His firstness. Al-batinu fi zahiriyatih. He is hidden in His appearance. Al-zahiru fi al-batinu fi zahiriyatih. He is hidden in His appearance. Al-zahiru fi batiniyah. He appears in His hiddenness. So, just this one sentence is enough. When I started to say, okay, now I want to explain them, what is Alhamdulillah al-awwalu fi akhariyatih? Yeah, I have to explain how Allah is awwal at the same time that He is akhar. How we have to bring a concept and a notion that explains how can Allah be, or anyone or anything, be first while He is the last, and be last while He is the first. Then I thought, okay, to make this understand, I need to go to the issue of a small explanation about Nafs. We have to understand Nafs, because وَمَنْ عَرَفَ نَفْسَ فَقَدْ عَرَفَ رَبَّهُ. Unless you know yourself, you do not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, to do that, I thought, okay, what should I start with? Who? Then I thought, the best person, Ruhi Lahul Fada, Imam Ali alayhi salam who has explained about Nafs. So that's how we started last night from this, that Kumail, I just briefly start from the beginning. I don't go through the lengths, the rest of it. Those who have not been here, you can, from tomorrow you can get it from NZ Dars. That Kumail is one of the very closest companions to Imam Ali alayhi salam. And he asked Imam Ali alayhi salam this question, that أريد أن تعرفني نفسي. Oh Imam, I want you to let me know my nafs. And Imam alayhi salam says, Ya Kumail, وَأَيُّ الْأَنفُسِ تُرِيدُ أَنْ أُعَرِّفَكَ. Which nafs do you want to know? You all know what is nafs, right? Soul. Which nafs do you want to know? Imam says, Kumail says, Ya Mullah, هل هي إلا نفس واحدة. Is soul more than one soul? Do we have more than one soul? And Imam says, Ya Kumail, who remember all those four souls that Imam explains? Do you remember? Yes, Jafar. Very good. Loud salawat for Jafar. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Imam alayhi salam says, Ya Kumail, innama hiya arba'atun. Four souls everyone has. But these souls are not independent souls. It's very important to make understanding of this. It is not that we have four individual, separate souls from each other. We are all one. Every one of us is one. So we have different levels of soul in us. And says, and first nafs was an-namiyatun nabatiyah, that plantic nafs, the nafs of a plant, the soul of a plant. Right? It is in us, in our nafs. And then, wal-hisiyatul haywaniyah, that sensual soul which is animalistic as well. And wal-natiqatul qudsiyah, that nafs which is natiqah, which is thinking nafs, thinking soul, and it's divine. Wal-kulliyatul ilahiyah, you remember I said is divine as well as universal. That's the fourth, the last one. Then I explained to you about nafs nabati, the plantic soul. You all remember that, right? I don't need to go through plantic soul. So we have four levels of one soul, that one soul that we have got four levels of that. Now, Imam talks about nafs And then Kumail asks, Ya Mawlai, man nafsul haywaniyya? Again, why do we need to know this to understand Allah is the last while He is the first, and He is first while He is the last? It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. And even I tell you, I will tell you, even this much I'm telling you about Marefat Nafs, so that I can go to that. This is not really, as much as it takes to start to do that. I just tell you, I have myself done 700 of Marefat Nafs before I could really understand what that talks about. But even I cannot claim that I'm understanding it. It's based on my ability. Everyone's understanding of certain issue is based on how much he or she has known and she has learned. So this is my very poor, I have to tell you, this is not being humble. I want you to all understand. This is a very poor, low level of knowledge. But I have become like the dust of tayammum for you, because there is not a person who are to teach you this. I have said to myself, okay, you go and do it. If someone comes and does it, I go away, sit aside and listen to that person. So I'm not a qualified teacher to teach you, but I am the dust of tayammum for you tonight. So, man nafsul haywaniyya. What is...
Someone's waiting outside, we just have to go.
Okay, sure. Hold on, thank you. Man nafsul haywaniyya. What is that animalistic nafs? Imam explains. قال عليه السلام. Imam Ali Salam says, Nafsul haywaniyya asluha al-aflaq. You remember? Means the origin of this nafs haywani is aflaq. What is aflaq? Galaxies and stars. These are called, as a whole in Arabic, they call it aflaq. So nafsul haywani, origin of it. Origin means what? Means where does it come from? It comes from aflaq. It's amazing, isn't it? How would nafs haywani, how does it relate to aflaq? This is what the human beings of these centuries, these years, still they do not realize, they do not understand the relationship of all these things together. But when Imam Ali alayhi salam explains, we have no choice but to say that is what it is. Okay? But how it relates, how it comes, that I don't know. I'm only explaining what Imam Ali says. He says, Asluha al-aflaq. The origin of it is from aflaq. And Imam calls it Quwwatun falakiyya. Falak means what again? Falak is the singular of aflaq. Aflaq is the plural of falak. So Imam, I know, sorry, my apologies. When I look at some of you guys, your eyes, the way you look at me when I say these things, like we say in Farsi, looking of a wise at an idiot. That's the way I can see you guys are looking at me. But these are the words of Imam. I have no choice but to explain it. Qubbatun falakiyya. This animalistic soul that we have. It comes from aflaq. It comes from galaxies, all the other stars around. We do not see, we do not understand how they affect every neighboring galaxy. Every galaxy is affecting the neighboring galaxy. Similar, just a very simple thing is, look how sun is affecting the earth. You all know that without sun, life would have not been possible on the earth. But this is what we can see, sense, understand. But the effect of the other stars on us, we do not know, because we do not have yet the means and knowledge to understand. So, قوة فلكية أصلها الأفلاك بدو إيجادها عند الولادة الجسمانية. Means bad means the beginning of a start of this قوة حيواني, this animalistic soul, is from when? ولادة الجسمانية. Who knows what is ولادة الجسمانية? Sorry? Okay, weladat means coming into a new world. Jasmaniyat means physical and material. But this is relating to this. When the zygote in the womb of the mother reaches to the age of 4 months, and we all have heard that, that is when the soul is blown into that. That is weladat al-jasmani. Wiladat al-Jismani is not when it's born to this world here. It is when that all that matter, because that matter before it receives any soul, before the 4 months in the womb of the mother, has no soul. It's only physical matter, right? But it's at the age of months of 4, it's blown into it a soul. That is wiladatul jismaniyah. So Imam Ali says, Badbu ijadha indal wiladatul jismaniyah. The beginning of the animalistic soul is when that zygote at the age of the 4 months receives that soul. And then Imam continues, says, Fi'luha. What is fi'luha? The action of it, action of this animalistic soul is fi'luha al-hayatu wal-harakatu wal-zulmu wal-ghalaba wa-iktisabu shahawat ad-dunyawiyya. Imam explains, this is the action of animalistic soul. So, what was the action of our plantic soul? Growth and increase. You remember last night we said, the act of, or action, or the work of planting soul was what, Faranos? Growth and increase and multiplication. That is the planting soul. That's how my cells are growing. That's how my hair is growing, how my nail is growing. These are all planting soul. And now it talks about the fail of the action of animalistic soul is hayat. Hayat means life, right? Life. Wal haraka, motion, that we move around. And even animals move around. Was zulmu wal ghalaba. Zulm means injustice, being aggressive on other people's rights, infringing other people's rights. That's zulm. Wal ghalaba. Ghalaba means domination. Those people who use other people, dominate other people and take from them the work they want. Waktisabu shahawat ad-dunyawiyya. And acquiring material shahawat, lust. Shahawat is not only that default meaning is that we all know about shahawat, means sexual desire. Even eating is grouped in shahawat, eating. So that will and want that animals have, we all have that animal soul in us as well. That is called shahawatud dunyawiyya. Okay, maqarruha. Maqar means place of istighrar, where it stays. Qalb, it is in heart. Istighrar, place where it stays. This animalistic life is in qalb. Of course, this, as I said, if we want to go through this, we have to go and read Ilahiyat Bu Ali Sina, so that we understand this. He has explained these things there as well. But never mind, we don't talk about it more than what I read from here. فَإِذَا فَارَغَتْ عَادَتْ إِلَى مَا مِنْهُ بَدَتْ. When it separates from us, that means when we die, or any animal dies, but of course now it's talking about insan, about human. When we die, that animalistic soul, what does it say? عَادَتْ إِلَى مَا مِنْهُ بَدَتْ, returns to where it had come from. Where did it come from? Aflaq, galaxies. So when we die, what happens to our nafs, to our animalistic soul? It goes back to those galaxies again, where they were. We don't know. And عود ممازجة لا عود مجاورة. عود ممازجة, عود means return. Mumazajat means mixing up. So when two things, when you put sugar and you stir it in the water, that becomes mumazajat. They become mamzuj, so they cannot separate them from each other. So it says when it goes back, it's not that, for instance, then so animalistic soul of Saeid Bassam goes back to Aflaq, but it stays as a separate soul anymore. No, it goes back to the same animalistic soul that it had come from, and there is no tashakhus, there is no individuality of that soul anymore. That goes back there. And then says, Fatan adimu surataha. Fatan adimu means it becomes ma'adum, non-existent. The surat of that that shape of that becomes non-existent. We all know that, doesn't it? When we die, what happens? وَيَبْطُلُ فِعْلُهَا, and all those animalistic actions are cancelled out. They no more exist. Okay? فَيُفْعِلُهَا وَوُجُودُهَا وَيَزْمَحِلُّ تَرْكِيبُهَا, and all those compound animalistic soul that we had, it disintegrates. Disintegration happens to that. So there's disintegration. When two things are, there are like 100 pages of this paper are put together and made this book. If you take each page out and tear it up and throw it away, you have disintegrated this book. So that is what it says. That animalistic soul disintegrates at the end when we die. So this is about Nafsul Haywaniyah. I want you, if we get tonight the time, I don't know, when we enter the other Nafs. So far we spoke about plantic soul, animalistic soul. We all feel that. Everyone understands. You don't need to go and ask. You refer to yourself, you see, you all have this, don't we? We all have that plantic soul, we all have that animalistic soul. The problem starts when I tell you about the next one, which is Nafsun Natiqatul Qudsiyah. You have to present yourself, all of us of course, not only you, me, you, him, her. We present ourselves to whether how much we match with Nafs Natiqatul Qudsiyah. My apologies to all of you. My apologies. I know most of us, including myself, we do not fit in that Nafs Natiqatul Qudsiyah. When I explain, you will see why. But so, what does that mean? That means, this is called mantiq. Logically, by definition, there are 7 billion human beings in the whole world. But by definition of Imam Ali alayhi salam, I don't know, I have not counted, maybe there are only 10 million, or I don't know, 100 million human beings. That's 6 billion 900 million are in the shape of a human being, but they are all animals. So don't look at me like that. Do not get offended. When I explain about Nafs Natiqatul Qudsiyah, then you will realize. This is not, I tell you honestly, these are not jokes. But Allah, if we were not thick-skinned, including myself, we would have cried when we read those parts, that we see where we are and what Imam Ali says about it. So let me tell a little bit about this man, Nafsul Haywaniyah, with all those things that I said about the action of Nafsul Haywaniyah, that is حركة والظلم والغلبة واكتساب الشهوات. This Nafsul Haywaniyah has got, in all of us and in all animals the same, has got some faculties which are working for it. It has got soldiers. What are the soldiers of Nafsul Haywaniyah? Eyes, ears, because Imam called it Hissiyatul Haywaniyah. Hiss means sense. We all have 5 senses, and those 5 senses are the soldiers, or are the faculties which are working for Nafs Haywani. So what does that mean? That means if I'm tasting a food, that is an act of haywaniyat, animalistic act. Not that there is anything wrong. This is, Allah has given it to us. Of course, without nafs haywani, we cannot live even. So we should have had it. Because there is not such nafs that there is no haywaniyat and no planting in it. It's only insan. There is not such thing. Such thing does not even exist. So nafs al-insani is, when I explain further to those other two, you will see. Nafs al-insani is a nafs which encompasses. All 4 are encompassed in one. Those Ilahiyatul Kulliyah, Natiqatul Qudsiyah, and Hissiyatul Haywaniyah, and Namiyatul Nabatiyah. They are all in one, encapsulated in one thing. That is, we need it, we should have it, but Allah has given those senses to work for it, for the nafs haywani. That is, we touch, we smell, we taste, we see, and we hear. But they're all working for our haywaniyat. especially if they come under nafs natiqatul qudsiyya, they are good. Then they don't do forbidden. But if they do not go under nafs natiqatul qudsiyya, they will act like animals. All other animals, that what they do, we do the same thing.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
At the end of the okay, because I get distracted and I forget what I want. Please write down your questions and ask after the session. So what we have to do, we have to be careful what our eyes sees. We have to be careful what our ears hears. We have to be careful what we smell. We have to be careful what we taste. We have to be careful what we touch. All must come under nafs natiqatul qudsiyya, so that it do not go like a wild animal. Because in Quran it says, in Quran it calls them balhum azallu sabila. The insan has got that thing in it that it can become even worse than animals. But poor animals are masum, aren't they? They don't do anything other than what they are made for. If they do all of those things that animals do, they are made for that. But when we do their acts, the works of animals, we are not made for that. But we are doing what we are not supposed to do. But they are doing what they are supposed to do. A wolf is supposed to be that wild and attack and tear apart. A tiger is supposed to do what it does. A lion is supposed to do. We never say, what a bad lion, he won and he torn apart so many, I don't know, elephants or other animals, or right? We never say that, because we that's only what, if we see a lion who is so nice and comes and goes, we think he's sick, don't we? So we are insan, but when we do not bring those five senses under what we have to bring, then we become like a haywan, or as what Quran says, we become even worse than that. So anyway, internally in my feeling, I have the tendency, I really would like to talk about this nafs al-haywani more. But at the same time, whether to say fortunately or unfortunately, this class is not class of akhlaq. Akhlaq is what? Behavior. We are not talking about behavior. This is about some other ma'arif. So that's why I don't go more than this into this topic, so that we continue. Imam says, now, I talk about nafs natiqatul qudsiyya, and if you went home and you did not cry, you are thick-skinned like me. If it made you cry, then there is a hope that we can change ourselves. قال عليه السلام قوة لاهوتية. قوة لاهوتية means it is استعداد. استعداد means potentiality. It is a potentiality. What is potentiality? Sorry? Capability to acquire something. Potentiality is a seed. In its potentiality there is a tree. If you put it under the earth, then a tree grows up out of that. That's potentiality. So that seed has got, potentially it can become a tree. It can become an orange tree. It can become a banana tree. It can grow and give fruits potentially. But only if right environment and everything is there, it can, that potentiality come to actuality. So potentiality versus actuality. When some things become actual, that means it's less potentiality, more actuality. So a seed, let's say, comparatively to a tree, is 100% potentiality, 0% actuality. When it grows, starts to grow, a small stem from the earth comes up, potentiality is reducing, actuality is increasing. That's how it works. So it reaches until such time that there is like 10% potentiality left, 90% is actuality. So Imam says, nafsun natiqatul qudsiyya, which is our nafs, is qawwatun lahutiyya. It's a potentiality that has come from lahut. Where is lahut? Lahut is higher awalim. It is a neighboring alam to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alam of Allah. But we are not talking physical. Do not say, think it, okay, there is in a corner of a sky, billions of billions mile away there is somewhere Allah is residing there, and next to it is Quwwatun Lahutiyya. No, it's not like that. This is about levels. This is about a status. This is about not about physical place. So Quwwatun Lahutiyya is a potentiality which has come from a neighboring level to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That in Quran, you see, for this in Quran it says, فَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. Allah does not say that for any other creature. It only says that for insan. نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. I blew from my soul. When Allah says blew from my soul to him, what do you think? Do you guys think that like a balloon, Allah blows into that zygote in the womb of the mother that becomes? No, we said that was animalistic soul. That is not what Allah is referring to in Quran. Allah says, when he says nafakhtu fihi min ruhi, that he talks about nafsul insani. Where is nafsul insani? When does it start? I'll go through it and I tell you. Allah is talking about human soul there. That human soul, no. That human soul is a potentiality. Means what? Means not everyone become a human being. As I said, was Saddam Hussein? Did Saddam Hussein ever become a human being, you guys think? He was a full animal, worse than animal, as per Quran. But he was never able to actualize that potentiality that Allah had given him. So Allah has given potentiality of human. We become human. But if we can actualize it, how do we actualize it? That's what Quran and Hadith tells us to actualize. If we do not actualize, we remain an animal. So when Imam says Nafs al-Insan or Nafs al-Natiqat or Qudsiyya, he says Quwwatun Lahutiyya is a potentiality which has come from فَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. It has come from there, and you have to be able to gradually actualize it by listening to Allah and to Ma'asumin. Quwwatun Lahutiyya. بدو إيجادها عند الولادة الدنيوية. What was the previous one? Previous one was the creation of it. The start of it was when عند الولادة الجسمانية. That was when the zygote was blown into a soul, which was animalistic soul. But here Imam says a start and creation of nafs insani is when indal viladatul dunyawiyya, when we are born into this world. Okay? Is this clear, Ali Agha? Ijad means what? No. Ijad means creation, starting, creation of nafs natiqa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, a start and creation of nafs natiqa and qudsiyya is when we are born into this world. That means what? That means when a zygote does not come to this world and dies before he is born at the age of 8 months or 7 months or 6 months, he had never had nafs natiqa. He was only given nafs natiqa qudsiyya when he is born to this world, comes to this world. It is in that level, it's still full animalistic soul in it. So far, am I talking clear, simple, or am I talking? Yes, Ali Agha? So let's see. A start of it. So it was a potentiality coming from Allah. A start of it is when we are born into this world. Maqarruhal. Maqar means what? Place of residence. Istiqrar. Maqarruhal ulumul haqiqiyya. That's where you have to ask all of yourself. What is ulumul haqiqi? What is ilm al haqiqi? Haqiqi means real. Ilm means knowledge and ma'arif. So what is ulumul haqiqiyya? Imam Reza alayhi salam was asked about this question. When someone asks Imam from a verse of Quran, let me try to remember that verse of Quran. فَمَنْ فِي هَذِهِ أَعْمَى فَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ أَعْمَى وَأَضَلُّ سَبِيلًا. It is in a verse of Quran. If you want, later on tell me, I can search it for you. I can't remember in which verse of Quran, in where in the Quran it is. Imam says, the verse of Quran says, whoever is blind in this world, he will be blind in the other world too. But is it about talking about this physical blindness? Of course not. How can Allah be, God forbid, so unjust, so that if someone comes, let's say, is born blind here, also he will be blind in Akhirat? How can that be? So Imam Reza alayhi salam says, blind or a'ma anil haqa'iq haqa'iq mawjude. Means what? Imam says, a'ma anil haqa'iq mawjude means a person who is blind to this ulum, to these knowledges of Allah, which are ulum al-haqiqiyah, he will be blind in Akhirat. That means if you do not learn. I tell you, you came tonight, I swear, when I say, not that I want to swear, I'm swearing with myself. When I say I swear by my blood, and I accept responsibility. Of course, no one can accept responsibility for anyone else. Everyone must be is responsible for himself. That shows my confidence when I say that. It is I'm only showing you my confidence with my statement. That whatever you did tonight, when you came for Imam Hussain alayhi salam, you did azadari, you cried, all of this, which is very, it's very rewarding, a lot of sawab, but learning one word has got hundreds times more sawab than those things. But do not take me, do not go and quote me saying, Mr. Bassam said, don't go for ziyarat and just come and go and listen. I never said that, right? I've taped it, I can show this to everyone. You cannot claim that I didn't say that. I'm only saying there is, if you have done 1 hour of crying and reciting ziyarat or whatever for Imam Hussain, but if you are learning 1 minute of learning, I can tell you, there is more sawab. It is not my word, of course, this is the word of Imam Ali salam. 1 hour, where is this 1 hour ibadat? 1 hour tafakkur is more than 70 years of ibadat. Is this joke? Means what is tafakkur? Means using our intellect and learn in understanding. So anyway, so maqarruha, the istiqrar of these nafs al-haywani, nafs al-insani, is in ulum al-haqiqiyyah. These are ulum al-haqiqi, this type of ulum, just what we are learning. This is the word of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Ulum al-haqiqi are ilm of Quran and ilm of Hadith. But what about other ulum? What about other sciences? Physics, chemistry. They are unreal ilm? Are they unreal? No, they are also ilm. But the relationship, the difference between those ulum and these ulum is, it is like, these ulum are like the trunk of a tree, and those other ulums are also ulum. Every ilm, every knowledge is of Allah. Every knowledge relates to Allah. Every knowledge comes from Allah. But those physical science or those other sciences, experimental sciences, they are like the small branches of a tree. They are still real. They are still come from Allah. But versus the other ilm that we are talking about is like a branch to a big trunk. Okay? So Imam says, مَقَرُّهَا الْعُلُومُ الْحَقِقِيَّةِ, the place where this nafs natiqah exists is ulum al-haqiqi. So we want to acquire that nafs natiqah qudsiyah. What do we have to do? If we want a car, they tell us maqarrul car. I'm sorry, combining Arabic and English. Maqarru sayyara fil garage. Yeah. The place of the cars istiqrar, the place where they keep the cars, is like in a, what they call, car shop, a showroom of a car. So we go there, we buy it. So Imam says, maqarruha, where this nafs natiqah exists, is in ulum al-haqiqiyya. So what? So if we want to acquire nafs natiqah qudsiyya, we have to learn ulum al-haqiqiyya. So that means what? See, look at this statement. Look at this statement. That means if we do not acquire those knowledge, we never become a human being. And nafs, we do not acquire nafs natiqah qudsiyya. It is not that we only eat and sit and drink and have baby and marry and these are not, okay, they're all good and well, and we need them, we have to do them, but still, no, they do not bring nafs natiqah qudsiyya. These are words of Imam Ali alayhi salam, these are not my words. So, maqarruha al-ulum al-haqiqiyya, the place where it stays, where you want to find that nafs natiqah is ulum al-haqiqi. And there is no ilm. Later on in a session, inshallah, I tell you that what type of ilm. This is a question. What is ilm? What type of ilm? I only say this much here. Imam Ali alayhi salam, again, I ask Imam Ali alayhi salam, what is the best ilm, Imam Ali? He says, Anfa'ul ma'arif, ma'rifatun nafs. Anfa' means the most beneficial. The most beneficial knowledge is the knowledge of nafs. That's what Imam Ali alayhi salam says. So, we are listening to Imam Ali and now we are learning about nafs. So, maqarruha al-ulum al-haqiqiyya. Mawadduha, from here it becomes more difficult. Okay? Mawad means the material. Material of nafs natiqah. Material is what things are made of. Mawadduha al-ta'idatul aqliyya. What is ta'idatul aqliyya? Means intellectual acknowledgement. What does intellectual acknowledgement mean? See, nafs natiqah qudsiyya is the showroom of nafs natiqah qudsiyya is ma'arif al-haqiqiyya. Material of it, what is it made of? Ta'idatul aqliyya. That means, okay, this is ilm. It comes from this tasdiq, tasavvur, tasdiq. What is tasavvur? You imagine. I tell you 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 2 plus 3 5, 5 plus 4 9. You are imagining this when I'm telling you this. Even if you don't know, you say, okay, this is 2. So these 3 put together, yes, Amu is right. You're still in the state of imagining it, tasavvur. And then when you say, you see it is 5, you say, yes, it is 5. This is acknowledgement. So tasavvur and tasdiq is ta'idatul aqliyya. So material of nafs natiqah qudsiyya is tasavvur and tasdiq. Tasavvur and tasdiq basically means the process of learning. Process of learning is, because let's say if someone comes to you today and tells you a formula, a physical formula that you never know about it. You hear it, because you cannot imagine it, you cannot acknowledge it too. There is no point, there is no benefit in it if you acknowledge it. If you acknowledge something that you don't even understand, that's not an ilm, it's not knowledge, is it? Is that a knowledge? If I tell you, if you put 5 grams of one type of acid called acid citric and 2 grams of zinc, you will make an hydrogen bomb. What did you make out of it? Can you acknowledge this? You acknowledge it only when you go to learn, when you learn basics of chemistry, basics of physics, basics of nuclear physics. When you learn gradually after 20 years, you're learning. Then you imagine what that person says. That now you understand. Yes, if I put 5 grams of acid citric and 2 grams, of course, don't go and do this. You don't make any bomb. I'm just giving a wild example. When you put this together, then you see what happens. Then you understand. You acknowledge, yes, that will give this material. That is ta'idatul aqliyya. That is this is the material of nafs natiqah qudsiyya. So put these two things together. I think it's good enough for tonight. Put these things together. Place where you can find nafs al-insani is in معلومات الحقيقية. So materials, they put these things together until tomorrow when you come back. At the end of this, inshallah, for those who continue until 10th of Muharram, at the end of this, I will ask 3 people to come and talk 10 minutes about it. If they can explain briefly what I have said, I give you a prize. It's not an expensive prize. It will be probably a dua or something, but that helps me to understand that you have understood, so that I can have your attention so you understand it. If you do not volunteer, I'll just pick myself, say, okay, you come, or you come, or you come. Okay? So, I hope this not frighten you, so that from tomorrow no one comes here. I'm sitting alone. Okay, so Maqarru has these 2 things together for tonight. Of course, Nafs al-Natiqa is more than this. I'll say the rest of it tomorrow. These 2 parts of it, I said, it's Qubbatun Lahutiyya. Sorry, I say for information about it. It is Qubbatun Lahutiyya. It's a potentiality which comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's number 1. A start of it, creation of it, is when the person is born to this life, comes to this world. Third was the place of it, where you can find it, the showroom of Nafs al-Natiqa Qudsiyya was Ulum al-Haqiqiyya, the real knowledge. Real knowledge. And the last one, or first one, which I said tonight, material of it. What is it made of? What is this Nafs al-Natiqa made of? Ta'idat al-Aqliyya, intellectual acknowledgement. What does that mean? It's amazing, amazing. That means you cannot, Sajid, you cannot do for me, you cannot imagine for me, tasawwur and tasir, and acknowledge for me. Can you? Everyone, this is a process that everyone can only do it for himself. No one can do tasawwur and imagination for someone else, and acknowledgement for someone else. So the material of it is in yourself. The material of Nafs al-Natiqa Qudsiyya of yours is not in mine, is me. Yours is in you, mine is in me, and yours is in you. So it's very beautiful word of Imam. Mawadduha ta'idat al-aqliyya. The material of it is intellectual acknowledgement. Intellectual acknowledgement is when I ponder upon something, I imagine it, yes, if I do this, this happened. Then I acknowledge, yes, it happened. That's material of Nafs al-Natiqa Qudsiyya. So inshallah, this enough for tonight. And tomorrow we continue about this. And maybe, because when I say maybe, the force nafs as well. Force nafs is very difficult to understand. But basically that is the nafs of ma'asum. When I explain, I tell you, I try to say it and translate it, but you will see it is the nafs of ma'asum. But if we can get to the Nafs al-Natiqa Qudsiyya, for us is a great thing, it's a big thing, it's 70 years of work to acquire that. Okay? So, Bar Muhammad wa al Muhammad salawat. Allahumma.